Hey everyone, and welcome to the 8-Figure Agent Podcast. My name is Jared Larsen, and I'm joined by my co-host Matt Walker, CEO of Swivel, the world's most flexible financial services CRM. Our mission is to build community, a community where we can empower each other to achieve remarkable success in the financial sector. Join Matt and me every week as we will motivate you to reach new heights in your career and unlock your full potential. Reaching your next level of success starts now. Hi, and welcome back to the 8-Figure Agent. I'm Jared Larsen alongside Matt Walker. And today we're going to talk to you about a principle that is such a powerful tool in business. And Matt's going to be able to share and enlighten you guys with the results from what we call the gap analysis. And so, Matt, as we jump into this, tell me a little bit about the tool of the gap analysis and how it can overall impact business and success of individuals.
Yeah, I mean, you're the expert on this, right, Jared? So you're asking me right out of the gates, what is it? I'm going to turn this right back to you. Why don't you explain the gap analysis and as the industry, business industry looks at it, and then we'll tie it into the financial service industry.
Okay, let's jump right in, brass tacks. So let's talk about the gap analysis. It's exactly that. It's identifying the gaps in business and analyzing it such that we can write the script or write the story to fill in those gaps so we can find success. And ultimately, the gap analysis, Matt, starts with an end in mind. We have to reverse engineer success. It sounds almost weird that we would say reverse engineer success, but if you don't know where you're headed in life, you're going to end up somewhere you never intended to be. And I think that I see this too often in business. People are like, I want to be successful or I want to be this, but they never identify where it is that they really want to be. And consequently, they start doing this through life and they're swerving and they're doing the S curve and they're all over the place saying, well, what the heck? And so the gap analysis is a tool that essentially addresses and takes into consideration where you are current state today. Meaning right now, in my full honesty, this is where I'm at. This is how I'm doing. It then projects where you want to be, where you desire to be, what the goals are, the vision that you have. And then it identifies step by step the process on how you get there. And I'm going to illustrate, I'm going to share a story, Matt. And Matt knows my mom really well. And she passed away about a year and a half ago. And she's one of the most amazing women that I've ever met in my life. And when she was about maybe 65 or so, she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And it was really challenging for her, and her health wasn't good anyways. And so it compounded many things. Well, she went to the doctor, and the doctor basically said, I'm totally going to paraphrase this, but amidst all the other things that he said, Debbie, you need to lose some weight. You need to lose some weight or you're going to die. Well, what do you think she did? I mean, it would seem natural that she just automatically started dieting and did everything that she could. That didn't happen. And so what she did was she actually went to another doctor, and she got a second opinion. And the second doctor came in, and it's a good family friend of ours. You know, Debbie, here's what you've got. You got type 2 diabetes, and what needs to happen is you need to lose some weight, or there's a high likelihood that you may die. Same story, right? Both of them share the same exact story. But let me tell you what number 2 did. Number 2 asked her what was important to her. And this is so crazy because I don't think he had formal training in the gap analysis or something, but he asked her what was important to her. My kids are important to her. My family's important to me. Staying alive is important to me. And he was intuitively picturing what that future would look like for my mom. But the main difference between what that Dr. 2 did to Dr. 1 was he said, and here's where we're going to start. And he laid out tiny little baby steps for my mom based on meeting my mom where she was current state. And here's why it was so important. Matt, if I told you needed to lose 150 pounds today, or you're going to die, do you think you would just be motivated to go? Well, for my mom, the gap was so significantly big in what she had to lose that it was impossible and she couldn't even do it. So why would I even start? But the reality and the value behind the gap analysis is the ability to project where you want to be, take a look at where you are today, and identify baby steps, micro goals, benchmarks, little ways to get to where you want to be so that you can focus here, not on the end result. So what happened in my mom's story? The doctor started with her here, took the first step. Hey, let's just start walking. Let's start walking a little bit more. Let's start exercising. Let's start doing this. Ultimately, the result was my mom got off of glucophage and type 2 diabetes because she was able to achieve this goal that the doctor had set with her. That's what the gap analysis does. That's what the gap analysis is intended for. So Matt, help our viewers and listeners apply that to what they're doing every single day because business is hard.
Yeah. So there's two different thoughts that went through my head as you're kind of describing the gap analysis. The first being agents that are just starting out. And I thought of myself first starting out, and I don't know what I was comparing what to what. I was going out there and someone told me to set 2 new appointments a day, and that's all I needed to focus on. I've seen people start out in the business where they're like, you just need to do these seminars and just do the seminars and that will work. At the beginning, you just got to go for it, right? You're just giving it your all. You're doing what you need to do. The mistake I see that most people make, though, is they don't start recording any type of analytics at the beginning. And you don't have to be sophisticated. You can just track it on a piece of paper. You can track it on an Excel spreadsheet. If you want to get crazy, there's a software that can do that for you, ish. And then you get a little better. And what I would say is important about tracking that data is as you get further along in the business, you start recognizing where your weak parts are. And I would say this, and other agents, advisors, feel free to disagree or make some comments or send me information. But most advisors, we kind of lie about what's really happening in our business, and most of the time because we don't know the actual numbers. And I'll have people like, I know my numbers, and then we'll get into it. And they don't really. It's very rare that someone actually knows their numbers. Now, those who do, great, but they're the outlier. They're 1 out of 500 agents that we talk to, right? But what are your actual numbers? And what I mean by that is, how many people do you talk to set an appointment? How many seminars do you have to do to get so many appointments? How many people have to show up at your seminar or sign up for your seminar? Whatever the analysis is that's important for you to track, whether it be seminar or leads or referrals that you have to ask, know what that number is. So to me, that's the starting point of the whole gap analysis, is getting a true identity of where you're really at. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that agents make, is they don't even know where they're at.
Well, Matt, I think it's intuitive for sale. Like, we're salespeople, right? We're not engineers. We're not like Excel spreadsheet people. We're generally salespeople, right? Sales minded. And so when you ask a sales individual how they're doing, what are they going to tell you? I'm doing good, man.
Great.
I'm doing great.
Fantastic.
Right? Or
I'm killing it. I'm the best at sales.
yeah. And here's the funny thing is, salespeople, you can talk to them right now and they're like, I'm dreadful. I just had the worst day of my life because I just lost 1 sale, right? He closed 5 yesterday. But then tomorrow you talk to him, how's business going? It's amazing. I just closed 2 people. So there's this level of dishonesty that we have as salespeople because we're emotional creatures. We live and die in the moment. And this emotion it's awesome. It's why we're so good at what we do. There has to be a tool on the back end to help us identify inefficiencies and gaps in what we're doing. And if you want to improve, and if you want your craft to become better, and you want to grow a business or have a team or own an agency or a brokerage or whatever the case is, you've got to become exceptionally talented at using the gap analysis to identify those efficiencies. And so I know that as we sit there, there's a level of honesty that has to occur right out of the gates. Where am I really at? And that's the first question.
So many people don't know this, but Swivel, the software company that we have, Jared, it is designed for financial professionals, as many of our listeners know. And the whole reason it was actually created was around this concept. I was fairly still new in the business. It's been about 15 years ago, 5 to 6 years in the business, and having some success on these seminars, writing a lot of premium. And all of a sudden I had this idea that so many have had before. I want to make more. I want to grow this business. And what I need to do is get other agents doing seminars, and I'm going to pay these agents a salary, and then I'm going to pay for all of the seminars. I'm gonna pay for it all. And they're gonna do a ton of seminars. They're gonna write a bunch of business and they're gonna make money. I'm gonna make money. It's gonna be a win-win. And we started that. And guess what I found out? That every single agent says, well, the reason my numbers aren't good is because my area sucks. The reason my numbers aren't good is because the mailer's bad.
The leads suck.
Yeah, whatever it may be, the leads suck. And I just kept being like, man, I don't think that's quite that way. Or they'd get a lot of appointments, but no one shows up. The reason they don't show up, and so they always had an excuse. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of these excuses. I want to make sure that we create a system that when they're doing anything, everything is tracked. And so I tracked every single step of everything that everyone did. And I had every numbers. And then when you have that much data, it's hard to make it simple. But we created the system to make it simple. And all of a sudden, I got to start seeing exactly where these agents and advisors were. And it was fascinating.
Oh man, I would love to be a fly on the wall when you're talking to those agents.
Turns out the same percentages show up to all of our seminars. Turns out that, you start going through all these numbers and then you start realizing, oh, look at this. You actually write just as much business as me, but it's falling off. Why is it falling off? And now you start getting into the real heart of what they're really doing. Or you set all the same amount of people to meet the seminars. Why aren't they keeping? Well, then you learn what they're saying at the seminar. And so that was seminar driven, but we did the same thing with the Medicare supplement business. We did the exact same thing with the analytics. How come you only can, this person can keep this person on the phone for an hour and this person can only keep it on for 5 minutes. And all of a sudden you start taking all the excuses away and you can really find out what is not working with someone. And you got to, or you can't move forward.
Yeah. Well, I hope that everybody will understand the gap analysis is not for like a particular piece of business. This tool can be used in every part of your business, evaluating people, evaluating processes, evaluating sales efficiency, evaluating lead generation time, evaluating relationships, it can happen your personal life, your spiritual life, your emotional life. Like this is a very versatile, universal way that you can analyze gaps and inefficiencies. And I want to share a couple steps along the way that make this so compelling. And if you don't follow these steps, it becomes far less effective. And the first and foremost is you have to know with clarity where you're headed. Meaning you need to know what the goal is in mind. And if you don't know what the goal is in mind, how can you track, Matt? How would you know if you're winning? How would you know if you're successful with all these agents that you're bringing on? So number one is define with clarity the goal, the outcome, the objective that you have, right? And once you identify that, then number two, you've got to assess currently where you're at. Don't even worry about the goal anymore. Disregard the goal. The goal is the goal. It's up there. It's the goalpost. It's sitting there. Where am I today? I have 0 agents. I'm failing. I'm not lead generating. I'm not setting my 2 appointments. I'm not doing all of these things. That's where I am currently. Once we do that, then you have the ability to identify the gaps or the gap or the chasm that exists there so that you can start analyzing causes for why you're not there. And if you're here, you can start analyzing what those causes are and then start developing the action plan and the steps necessary to get you there. And so this is all good and dandy. We've got a goal. You've assessed where you currently are very honestly, right? And now you've identified the steps that are required to get you there. I will say 90% of all gap analysis stop right there. And now they have a perfect, pretty plan that's sitting right in front of them. Matt, what do you think happens to those plans that are perfectly polished and they're crafted and they spent a year getting it dialed in and it's right in front of them? What do you think happens?
I've seen it. Nothing.
Nothing. It just sits there and no action is taken. And so here for all these analytics that you and Swivel are putting together and all this wonderful information that you have, it means nothing if action isn't taken because you can't understand what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong to continue to tweak, to fail forward, to achieve your goal. And so my challenge to everybody that's listening is I get you can have a goal. I get you can understand where you are today, but without the steps to get there and action on the first one. I'm not saying you need to be some Herculean effort to win and get the result today. I'm saying the ability to take action on step one. That is the most important step. And when you finish step one, you focus on step two. And when you hit step two, you focus on step three. The result is a byproduct of the process in which you set moving forward. And I see that those agents and advisors that have the ability to set that and focus on the process, embrace the process, those are the ones that find the results and the success long term. And Matt, I know you have. I mean, you've been absolutely successful in all of the businesses that you've touched for the most part, following this very similar strategy.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot to take in, but I actually have a step-by-step process I need for every month to get every business where I want it. And it's how much I spend on each line, how many products need to be sold, how much revenue needs to come in, how much profits I want to make. And I will build that out for a whole year and then the next 5 years. And then what I go and do is I go back and say, okay, in order for that to happen, in order for me to get that many leads, how's my marketing? And I have to make sure that my marketing works. And then I got to make sure that all the money I spend on marketing is getting to bring enough leads in. So then I can check my sales. Now, when you've been at it for a while, you know exactly how much you should spend for how much marketing. You know exactly how many leads you need to do for how many sales and what your average sell is going to be. And so you can actually work backwards into the plan once you know those things. And that's what you're talking about before. And if you know what I'm talking about and you live it and do it, that's great. What I find in our industry, in the financial service industry, they haven't even started with step one, which is I don't even know my actual numbers. And then those that do, you're right, they put this plan into place, and then how do you get them to act on it? How do you get them to do it? And that, to me, is where there's two key things that I think I can help with on that. One of them is this concept around gamification. You reward people on what their metrics are going to be. So, for example, if I have a marketing director who is responsible for so many people to be at seminars, I can reward her or him on how much they spend to how many people they bring into the seminar. If it's an agent, well, now, I just have myself now in the company for myself to worry about, but when I had all the agents before I sold the company, it's how many of those people are leads that you convert into opportunities. And then from that, how many opportunities do you turn into sales? And you can create little bonuses, little rewards along the way. Or if you can really get an operation going, you actually create a game out of it. And who does the better metrics? And you have competitions, and you give away prizes or whatever over the days. And then at the end of the day, the financial reward for sales is the financial reward. I think that there's time for bonusing certain things when that's right, but I really like to see bonuses around metrics and salary and commissions around your job well done. But that typically is a way that you can get people and yourself even motivated around these metrics.
Well, Matt, as a sales rep, we've all been in sales, right? And this is crazy, and I'm just going to be totally vulnerable. There are days where you're like, well, man, I got 20 more calls to make. I'll just do it tomorrow. Or, it's so intriguing how we'll make a to-do list just to check things off. But it's always the hardest things on the to-do list that we wait till last. And then it's like the very end of the day when we have like no more mental fortitude. And it's like, well, I'll just tackle that tomorrow. Right. And we just keep pushing it off and keep pushing it off. And what we're saying yes to is making it take longer to get to our goals. And so let me share with you another key piece to success in this gap analysis. Number one, you can come with your current state. You can add your goal. Number two, you can track, you can create the steps. And number three, you can take action. But the last piece, you've got to monitor your progress, and you have to have an accountability partner. I will tell you, so many people die on the vine by just hoping. And we've talked on past podcasts, like hope is not a great plan, but hoping that you're just going to do it, we will lie to ourselves and we'll slip and we'll slide. So what are you monitoring? How are you choosing to know if you win or lose? And who are you telling? Like, I want Matt to tell me. It's why like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods, they hire 5 and 6 coaches, a putting coach, a driving coach, a long iron coach. They have all these different people to monitor their progress, analyze the data, tweak what it is that they're doing, and then hold them accountable.
Yeah. So you know this about me, and our listeners know this about me, but I'm a big believer of we progress And so you get people who are bought in on your vision, and then it becomes their vision, and then it's no longer your vision, it's our vision. Once it's at our vision, then the accountability is our accountability, and you hold each other to that accountability. I feel like being held accountable alone is scary to me. I don't know why, it always has been, but being held accountable with people, like I don't want to let them down. Plus, I know I have someone there who has my back. It just seems like more doable. So if you have people you work with, and many people have partners in this business, many people have an IMO and FMO marketer that they trust or they can work with. But, and this is where I'd say like our CRM is awesome for this, for tracking that data. Like get software that helps you track your data, because you don't want to spend all day tracking data. Get it automated for you. Get that working for you. Have that data track your staff members if you have staff. If you're alone, you can do your own stuff. But that's where you got to bring other people in that are going to hold that accountability. For the Senior Plus Advisors, the Medicare company, we had a board that kept us accountable.
Sure.
We had investors who were purchasing us that kept us accountable, and I had to show those numbers and I had to show those metrics because I was forced to. And I think that was a big aha moment. All of a sudden I was playing with the big boys, big companies taking care of analytics, and I'm sitting here looking at my own practice, and I'm like, my gosh, if I could just spend half or a fraction of this energy on my own business, imagine how I could make it explode. And it did. I mean, where I'm sitting right now, I'm 1 day a week in my business, and I'm up $22 million right now, paid annuity business, and I work 1 day a week. You don't get there because I got good at something. I got there because I understood my analytics so well and what needed to be done at each step, that then I got to the point where even the hard things like Jared was talking about, my hardest thing was getting leads. And once I figured out how to get leads, then what I had to do to get the leads, I could hire people to do those things. And then I got people hired to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And before you know it, I do the one thing that every agent wants to do, is I just take care of sales and I take care of the client, and that's all I do. In fact, I've got it done so well now that I've got other people hired to look at the analytics of other people, and that they make the fixes and changes now, to where I literally just show up and I look at a report maybe every other quarter to make sure things are headed in the right direction. Like, that's how far I am now removed from all those analytics, because I've gotten the processes down so much, I've gotten the steps down, and I know what levers need to be changed to make things go in the right direction.
Yeah, and that process that Matt is talking about has evolved over many, many years, and that result is all the way up here. But Matt didn't wake up one night and just achieve the result he wanted. It was built line upon line, and it took time for him to get there. I've had the opportunity to coach soccer for many, many years at a varsity level, but also my favorite is coaching the little peewees. And my son Ryder, I've been coaching him since he was a little guy, and he's now 10, and I'm coaching his U11 team. And we just had a coaches meeting last night, and the director of coaching, who's a good friend of mine, he said, I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice. And I'm going to give all of you 3 pieces of advice that will absolutely pertain to the gap analysis and where you are in business right now. Number 1, make it competitive. In everything you do with your little kids, make it competitive. Have fun. Compete. There's an innate desire in all of us to compete somehow. You may have to find the right competition for you. Number 2, be clear in your direction. Be clear in your direction. For me as a coach, it's be clear in the direction I'm giving these kids. For you, it's have clear direction in where you're going. Know with clarity the direction you're headed. So compete, give direction, know where you're headed. And the last one is encourage creativity within the confines of the game. And I'm going to repeat this again. Encourage creativity within the confines of the game. There's a difference between creatively acting and making the right decision on a soccer field. Teach them how to make decisions. Allow them to be creative within the soccer field itself. And now I'm saying to you in the third piece, be creative within your business, within the guardrails that you've set for yourself so that you can be successful. The worst thing is that we don't want to pump out drones and robots. You are who you are, and you bring some specialty to everything you do. You interact with people in different ways. Be competitive. Know where you're headed. and be creative within the confines of your own business. And man, as you do that, you will see massive growth. Does that make sense, Matt?
I love the be creative within the confines of your business. I've seen people take creativity out of the confines of their business and get them in trouble. Yeah, absolutely. All those things are just spot on. You could just, this is the mic, we're dropping it here. Those three things are what you need, right?
Yeah, and I think of the confines, Matt, and what are those confines? I mean, I don't do scripts, Matt, because they don't sound like me. Now, I don't follow your process because I'm not you, Matt Walker, who's done 22 million year to date, right? Like, there's so many people that have these misconceptions about, no, that's not who I am, right?
My area is different. My people I work with are different.
You just don't understand me. Well, what I hope that listeners are taking away from today is that no matter where you are in business, I don't care where you are. You have the opportunity to change the trajectory with one decision today. Understand who you want to become. Understand where you want to go with clarity, with assurity. And the second you know that, let's go back and reverse engineer it. Assess where you are currently today. Track the steps that are necessary to get there. Start taking massive action towards that, starting with step 1 and working your way up. The result will be the byproduct. And the last piece is, who do you know that you need to know that can help hold you accountable, that can help gamify, give direction, allow you to be creative within the own confines of your game. And I know that as you do that, you will find comprehensive success. You will grow to the extent that you want to grow, and you will find the outcomes and the results that you desire. I want to thank each of you for joining us on the 8-Figure Agent today. Have a great day. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow us on your preferred platform wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, success loves company, so share this podcast with someone who you think might enjoy it too, and let's build a community together. Let's keep the momentum going until the next episode drops. And hey, if you got any questions or topic ideas that you would like us to focus on, send us a message on social media. Again, thanks so much for joining us. Until next time.